Good morning and welcome to this week's edition of the Carl Jackson Show podcast. I appreciate you joining us today. I'm sitting in studio with J Dog and Dennis behind the scenes, and then our Casper. That's my doggy. So if you hear any noises in the background, that is me doggy. So anyway, eventually we need to get a dog cab for him, but right now, anyway, if you hear any noise, that is Casper. All right, so here's what I want to talk to you about. The jobs numbers. You guys heard about the jobs numbers. You heard some of the latest numbers. I want to go into detail for that, and I also want to give you solutions at the end of the podcast. But here's the deal. I think conservatives are looking at the jobs numbers in the wrong way. When we see these jobs numbers and we hear the Biden administration talk about the jobs numbers, we're like, okay, this is really horrible. This is really bad. These numbers are really bad. And indeed they are. But as conservatives, we're looking at this as if the left cares that the numbers are bad because that's what the media portrays. But if you look at what's happened and what's transpired over the last year with the pandemic, you have to understand this. Democrats are successful, and I've said this plenty of times, but Democrats are successful when you're unsuccessful. So I think conservatives are doing the movement, if you will, and the Republican Party even a disservice by thinking, oh man, Democrats really want the jobs numbers to be better. Now, I'm not talking about your neighbor. I'm not talking about laymen. I'm not talking about the people at your church. But the Democrats that really get it, the progressives of the party that understand what's going on, the progressives of the party that really want class warfare, chaos. This is why they support movements like Antifa. This is why they support Black Lives Matter, because they want as much chaos to divide us as possible, because ultimately what they want to do is create two tiers of citizens, right? They want an elite class and they want a lower class that can be controlled. What's different about how the left has used the pandemic crisis, or what was a crisis, is they are using it to crush the middle class. So conservatives are looking at the jobs numbers in the wrong way. In this way, Democrats are absolutely happy about the jobs numbers, regardless of what they say. Conservatives need to realize it. You remember when you were a kid. I think we all remember as kids. This is the danger, and this is my fear. But I can remember sitting in my kindergarten class, and in first grade, I literally recall this. Both teachers, kindergarten and in first grade. And my teachers asked the question, as I'm sure many of your teachers did the same thing at the time, what do you want to be when you get big? What do you want to be when you grow old? You know, some of us, if you listen to financial programs, some of those people ask those same questions, right? Dave Ramsey, you listen to him, I listen to him. He'll ask those types of questions, but you rarely hear those types of questions anymore. And what scares me is, and what's a concern is, I'm not sure that a lot of kids are hearing this in school anymore. Yeah, sure. Some that are in STEM programs, some of these guys, some kids that are just, there are some people that are inclined to education that should be in high school, college, so on, and maybe even beyond. But the vast majority of people aren't. So are those people dreaming anymore? Are those kids being asked, what do you want to be when you get big? What the left is trying to do is take that away completely. They're trying to take away the American dream. They're trying to take away the American citizen's ability or thought process where we would normally say, what do we want to do? What do we want to accomplish when we get big? Do you guys remember what as kids, the top two answers always seemed to be, whenever I heard the question, was police and firemen. Well, they're killing the police departments across the country, right? Police are depolicing. They're taking early retirements. They're getting away from the profession because Antifa, Black Lives Matter, and leftists have absolutely destroyed them. And they continue to perpetuate this myth that police departments across the country are systemically racist, despite the fact that more Latinos make up police departments across the country and more unarmed whites are killed annually by cops and blacks. In fact, double the numbers. So it's absolutely ludicrous, but it doesn't matter. The left will continually put these things in on the big screen, on the TV screens, and on social media platforms and so on to constantly create this division. And this is what concerns me as it relates to jobs, because what this shows me is that the left is winning. They're not losing. They're winning. People are framing, oh, this looks bad for Joe Biden. He's going to be, he's looking like Jimmy Carter. And he will, if the right can learn to frame our rhetoric effectively. Because obviously some people are going to believe he's a disaster. Some people are going to believe he's handling or managing the crisis well, if you will. It's going to be up to conservatives and Republicans to frame it in such a way that he does come out looking like Jimmy Carter, and that the public at large buys into that. But that's extremely hard to do when the left controls the social media outlets and platforms, or so on, et cetera. Thank God there are conservative outlets that are emerging, but this is an issue. Let me go over some numbers with you. So the non-farm payrolls increase. So hiring was down in April. Let me say that first. So non-farm payrolls only increased by 266,000. And some of you may be saying, hallelujah, praise God, 266,000 jobs, that people that are returning to jobs. And for those 266,000 people, that is good news. The problem is the expectation was that about 1 million people would return to work, and the unemployment rate would be 5.8%. Not good, right? Excuse me. Not good, but we would see some progress. Now, both Biden and the Treasury Secretary, Janet Yellen, they believe the economy has a long way to go. We all know the economy does have a long way to go, as a matter of fact. But both of them believe and have said, I heard Biden say this, as a matter of fact, that, and Yellen as well, we're continuing to see progress. This, even though the numbers are low, they're spinning it as these are signs, or this is a sign. These 266,000 jobs that are like 75% short of the number, or close to. This is signs, or this is a sign of quote unquote continued progress. And it is continued progress, just not in the way conservatives think. And, I have to wrap my mind around this. I have to wrap my mind around the fact there are evil people out there that exist within the Democrat Party that live for money, power, prestige, and for some reason they get a kick out of dismantling and destroying middle-class America. See, middle-class America used to be the friend of the Democrat Party, but I guess Trump took that away from them. And he took some black votes, he took some Latino votes away, and now they are perturbed, to say the least. So this COVID-19 gave them the opportunity they wanted. You've heard me talk about it, the Great Reset. The world ushers in these globalists, these economic leaders and powerhouses across the world just want this global type economy. And they have to crush the middle class. The middle class has to be crushed in order for Democrats to succeed. So yes, Janet Yellen and Joe Biden are absolutely correct when they say they are seeing continued progress towards absolutely destroying middle class America. I want you to remember this Bible verse. This Bible verse always says the borrower is, or in Proverbs, I can't even say it, J-Dog.
Borrower.
Thank you. Borrower is slave to the lender. What does that mean? Obviously, when a person goes in debt, they have to work their butts off to pay back that debt, as I have, and many of you, I'm sure, watching. You have to pay off that debt. You're enslaved to the person that you owe money to. Democrats are taking this to a whole new level, and it is working. It is working. This is what's discouraging. I never suspected so many Americans would lay down and take these lockdowns, but they have. And now it's gone beyond even when I came to that realization, like, oh my Lord, I can't believe so many Americans are sitting down and taking this lockdown nonsense. What's gone even further? because no longer are we those kids, or are we developing these kids that are sitting in the classroom saying, oh, 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 this is what I want to be when I get big. This is what I want to be when I get big. I'm not even sure they're thinking about that anymore. I'm not even sure that they're thinking about day-to-day leisure or day-to-day survival. And this is where the left is successful. This is where the left has succeeded. You know, Rush Limbaugh used to say you can't beat Santa Claus, but this goes beyond that. I don't, honestly, I don't even know what to call this. The U.S. economy, listen to these numbers. The U.S. economy is still 7 million jobs short of the pre-pandemic numbers. Now, you think, okay, as states open up, these jobs will return relatively quickly, right? Not so quick, because everything from these mask orders, the continued lockdown, these governors getting on TV, blue state governors, Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, just stoking fear into people constantly, and still over this COVID-19, people are going to be less inclined to go to work. There's still people. I was speaking to a medical professional the other day, or just yesterday, as a matter of fact. This is a doctor, okay? This doctor had bought into this stuff hook, line, and sinker. He was talking about some of the left wing talking points. He hadn't before, but he got COVID-19, as did I, and all of a sudden, I'm listening to this guy, and I'm in disbelief. But I start pushing. I start pushing back, and all of us in our own way are going to have to start pushing back. And I did it by questioning. Um, it was absolutely amazing. But some of the things that came out were obviously the mask. Oh, you can kill other people. Herd immunity. And the doc was talking about herd immunity, and we need 70 something percent of people to take the vaccine. And I was like, whoa, whoa, whoa. I thought the herd immunity came when 70% of the people, whether vaccinated or have the antibodies as a result of having COVID, meant herd immunity. And he was like, blah, 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 blah. I mean, he stumbled over it, and then he came back with another answer. So we are in a we're in a scary place, because these 7 million jobs are not going to be easy to retain. And then you think about this. Think about the open borders. Think about all the illegal aliens flooding into the United States. I wonder if a lot of these jobs will potentially be filled by illegal immigrants, where you won't even get the tax dollars from. So that's something else we have to consider. Now, also consider this. I suspect the numbers are far worse than 7 million. We're talking about 7 million jobs that haven't returned from pre-pandemic levels. That does not, as far as I know, that does not account for people that would have entered the labor force thereafter. So Johnny or Diane graduate high school, or maybe they're getting their first job somewhere. Those people perhaps are not even entering the labor force. College graduates who, obviously, if you're in STEM, you're probably going to be successful regardless, and you're going to enter the labor force. But some people that took some really stupid, what do you call those? Oh my God, classes, and what's the word that I'm looking for? Get some dumb degrees that are just totally worthless. How to studying fat women that take baths in Cocoa Puff cereal or something. I don't know. Whatever these stupid degrees that are not going to make any type of money whatsoever. Those people, we have to consider those people that are going to be in debt to the government, and also don't have the jobs and careers to be able to pay off their debt. And maybe they're just discouraged, which we'll talk about shortly. The unemployment rate rose. Remember, I told you they were expecting 1 million jobs to be recovered in April. Instead, there were only 266,000 jobs. And don't let Joe Biden play this game. Oh, this is the great. You hear the dementia patient say constantly. I heard him the other day just talking about he tried to frame it as, and Republicans cannot let him get away with this. This is why we need somebody on the bully pulpit. He was framing it as, my presidency has created the most jobs ever in this X amount of time, first 100 days, whatever it may be, 3 months, 100 days, or whatever it may be. But he didn't create any jobs. First off, we all know that a president can't create jobs, but they can create an environment that's conducive, right, to job growth. But having said that, the lockdowns, primarily in blue states that are continuing on, all these mandates that are making people fearful and all this kind of stuff, and Joe Biden's economic plans are actually destroying jobs. These aren't new jobs. These are people returning to work. And I guarantee you what's happening is red states are literally holding blue states on their backs. States like ours. I live in Florida. Thank God Ron DeSantis is the governor of Florida. Hopefully he will remain the governor of Florida after next year's election. But the unemployment rate rose to 6.1%. Again, they were expecting 1 million jobs at an unemployment rate of 5.8%. But the 6.8, this is where we should be concerned. 6.1% unemployment rate isn't because, this is why I say Democrats are successful, isn't because there are no jobs available, right? I mean, new companies, new startups are starting. People are being incentivized in that way. People that are hustlers and want to be business owners and so on, et cetera. The problem is there's a shortage in workers. People simply don't want to come back to work. In April, listen to this. In April, there was 1.1 unemployed workers per job. 1.1 workers per job unemployed. So basically, what's happening is we have more jobs available than we have workers willing to work. Why is that? Why would anyone in their right mind, especially if you're a low-skilled worker or you're a low-wage worker, riddle me this, Batman. Why would I go back to work if I could twiddle my thumbs, my fingers, sit home, a check arrives in the mail or right into my bank account, and I can just chill? And listen to this. I'm not even motivated to build a business or to do anything else because I can't go anywhere. Democrats have told people you're going to die. You're going to kill someone. You think that psyche just disappears unless you haven't bought into it? So not only am I sitting at home collecting free money by sitting on my butt, I'm not even motivated to step outside of my door because I can quote unquote kill somebody if I'm not wearing a mask. Totally ludicrous and stupid, but nonetheless, people have bought into that psyche, right? Democrats are winning. This is what conservatives have to understand. This is why when conservatives and or Republicans get in power, you need to exact that power. You need to use it because the country will continuously go further left if you don't utilize your power. This is why Liz Cheney is such a disappointment in her leadership role in the House. I'm not fond of Elise Stefanik, too. Let me just say this. Let me make this clear. Elise Stefanik, here's what I do love about it. Let me offer this caveat. Here's what I do love about Elise Stefanik. And I'm saying this because it's going to be important to get warriors in office. Elise Stefanik appears to be a warrior, right? When it comes to political rhetoric, she wants to take the fight to the left. But if you look at her voting record, she's from New York, guys. You have to keep that in mind. Is she going to fight for the things that we need her to fight for? I suspect she will because that job position, and I've heard her in interviews since, that job position demands that she helps to navigate and to procure, if you will, unity within the party. So what the majority wants, she'll help to unify. That'll be her role. Liz Cheney isn't doing that. Liz Cheney actually has a much stronger voting record than does Elise Stefanik on conservative issues. These are things we have to be mindful of. Even as voters, we can't just, oh yeah, she sounds great, he sounds great, let's go. No, we have to be, this is what the founders intended. We have to be knowledgeable in the Constitution. We have to be knowledgeable voters. That is the only way you're going to save this great country that we call America. It's vitally important. So Elise Stefanik may be great. I don't know, but her voting history is not that great. But Liz Cheney is doing damage to the party, so she got to go. As you know, as they say. Another thing, think about what's happening. I know all you social justice warriors don't like to admit that there's a difference between men and women, but there are. It doesn't matter what you say. It doesn't matter what you believe. There are differences between men and women. That's why I was glad that Bruce Jenner, Caitlyn Jenner, whatever, came out and said, "Hey, you got to," and that's another story for another day. I'm going to talk about that Wednesday on my show because Caitlyn Jenner is not who we should be uh, sending to the governorship or the governor's mansion in California if indeed a Republican can win. I'm going to touch on that big time on Wednesday. I'm going to make the case against Caitlyn Jenner's candidacy because I understand now the conservatives are scared to do it, so I'll do it. It's a very, very, very bad idea unless it's a last resort option. But let me go back to this. So here's what I fear. Men and women are different. You're creating a bunch, as if society wasn't already bad enough. You're creating a bunch of lazy men that don't want to step up to the plate and be men, be protectors, be providers. Oh, Carl, you're old school. No, you just don't get it. I'm sorry. Lazy men, no aspirations, women who no longer expect to see hardworking men that want to date. I mean, they don't know who they'll date, who they'll marry, who they'll have kids with. We are raising wimps. We are raising wimps. I'm telling you, you're going to see, in my opinion, I'm going to forecast this. If you thought marriage rates were bad now, I think they're going to tank even more because men aren't going to want to date. And you're lowering women's expectations of men as well. So you're going to see a further divide there. I think we're going to become like, what's it, Japan or is it Japan, South Korea, where basically all the men do, they don't date any women. All they do, excuse my language, cover your ears for a sec if you have little kids around. All the men do there are masturbate because they don't date women. They won't ask women out. I think this is the society we're going to create in America. I think it's really going to get bad. And that's why I say this is a success. These job numbers, don't get it twisted. They are a success. You have to know the difference between U3 numbers and U6 numbers. So let me break those down to you. Those are unemployment numbers. We measure unemployment numbers by U3, the U3 number, the U6 number. So the U6 number is full unemployment, right? The U3 number only accounts for if you had a full-time job and you lost your job. That is the U3 number. That's those are the U3 number is comprised of the amount of people that have lost their full-time work and they just don't have a job right now. Now, there's also the U6 number that encompasses full unemployment, and that's where this gets concerning because that's what we're starting to see again. So you're talking about full-time workers who not only lost their jobs due to the lockdowns, not COVID, maybe initially COVID, but the lockdowns, and then your full-time workers who are now just part-time, right? And this is U6. So you get let me just slow down here for a second. U3 number, full-time workers that lost their job. The U6 number, full-time workers that lost their job, also included are full-time workers that went to part-time, also included are discouraged workers that have just totally given up hope. I fear that what we're going to see are so many discouraged workers that have just totally given up hope of work. Couple that with the fact that we have, is it hundreds of thousands of kids that are unaccounted for in school nowadays, even though that may not be as bad as we think. I don't know. But we have a generation We're raising a generation of dumb and lazy people that are now dependent on the government. And you think this is unsuccessful for the left? We're looking at this stuff the wrong way. Here's more bad news for us in the traditional sense. So, for those of us that are conservative, the March jobs totals were revised down from 916,000 to 770,000. So what they're doing is they're doing the Obama trick. Obama would constantly give us these fake numbers because don't believe that Janet Yellen hasn't sold out for the Biden administration. So the Treasury Department will give us these fake numbers, and then the media would bolster these numbers. Oh, Barack Obama is doing so great. He's the best president ever, so on, etc. And then a month later, they would revise the numbers down, and only nerds like me would look at those numbers, while the media, the rest of the corporate media, stayed silent on the numbers. Didn't make a big deal of it. So it would look like he was doing better than he was with jobs numbers, because they would never break down how horribly he was doing when the numbers were corrected. So this is not a great thing. And so far, all right, the markets haven't reacted badly. Thank God. Excuse me. Excuse me. So the markets haven't reacted bad to the news because investors expect the Federal Reserve to keep interest rates low. We see that happening. And they suspect these jobs numbers are short term. We'll see. We'll see. Because what the left has to do is create or do as much damage to the economy, do as much damage to the psyche of middle class workers. What the left is trying to do, ostensibly, is discourage and destroy the middle class by convincing people that are in the middle class or who would have been in the middle class to just stop working, to give up. They're giving them the taste of the drug. Excuse me. They're giving them a taste of the drug, of the welfare drug, if you will, the government cheese. That's what's happening. So here's some numbers for you. The leisure and hospitality industry saw the most rehiring, which is at 331,000 workers. Here's the problem. And that sounds good, right? You think leisure, hospitality, but who the heck is traveling? Who's going out for leisure and hospitality except conservatives who are just over this crap, right? But 331,000 workers in the month of April that returned to leisure and the hospitality industry. Here's the issue. We're still 2.9 million workers short. 2.9 million workers short of where we were pre-pandemic and, should I say, lockdown orders. So consider all the job growth that would have occurred because, remember, under Trump, we were under a booming, on fire economy until the lockdowns, until COVID hit, and Trump, being too compassionate, people don't give him credit for, decided to initially shut down the economy. Really bad decision. Really bad decision. But nonetheless, he did it, being compassionate, and so that's where we are. Now, here, let me give you some examples. I believe this is from CNBC, by the way. There's a restaurant owner. Actually, he's not a restaurant owner. He's a CEO of Sergio's Restaurants. I'm assuming that's a chain in Southern California. So he said that not only has his restaurant chain, I believe, I'm going to assume it's that, has increased wages, they've hired 3 different staffing agencies that are constantly looking for people. He even knows of other restaurateurs who are walking around neighborhoods, literally passing out flyers like they're in lawn service or tree service or pool service, trying to get workers to come back to work. That's how bad it's gotten. This is what the left has done to the psyche of young men and women who would have probably been earning a decent income, getting their on-the-job experience, maybe first time or what have you, maybe saving for college, maybe getting through, maybe whatever they may be doing, maybe purchasing their first car. All of these people are just chilling. So the quote unquote other service industries was next in hiring with 44,000 jobs gained in repairs and maintenance and personal laundry services, which that kind of surprised me. I guess not repair and maintenance, but laundry services. I didn't expect to hear that. But here's the good news. Here's good news for you. Local government added 31,000 jobs. Now, how is that possible? Everyone else is losing jobs, but local government in the education field, with much fewer kids in school, are adding jobs. That is extremely amazing. How do they do it? How do they do it? We continue to pay for it. We continue to allow it. This stuff is going to kick us in the butt. I'm telling you guys, Biden inflation is going to hit. Biden inflation has already hit. The cost of used cars are up. The cost of any type of hygiene products are up. The cost of meat is up. The cost of wood is astronomical. Copper, palladium, all of these things you wouldn't think about. Everything has skyrocketed. When did it happen? Is it Trump's fault? No, it didn't happen under Trump. It's happening now under the Biden administration. But local government education jobs, growing. Whoa, pretty amazing. Pretty amazing. Also, social assistance jobs. Does anyone know what the heck a social assistance job is? I have no idea what a social assistance job is, but sounds a lot like socialism. So social assistance jobs increased by 23,000. Financial jobs increased by 19,000. Now, I suspect that to happen because people are freaking panicking. What am I going to do with my retirement? What am I going to do with my investments? What do I do now? How do I survive? How do I get through this? So I don't blame them. Professional and business services have declined by 111,000 in temporary help. Support services lost 15,000 jobs. Courier positions lost 77,000 jobs. Manufacturing in the last month lost 18,000 jobs. 18,000 positions. This is scary for those of us that love America. For those of us that remember sitting in the classroom, in the kindergarten classroom and the first grade classroom, and thinking, what do we want to be when we get big? But for the left, this is Christmas. We've almost got it. We have a dependency class of lower income Americans that are willing to just sit at home, smoke weed, drink or trill, or live paycheck to paycheck. We're bringing in illegal aliens by the tens of thousands every month and lying about the border crisis and trying to distract people. And now we've got middle class Americans that are starting to enjoy being lazy and accepting government welfare checks. They're succeeding. They're using different words. They're using words that conservatives and common sense folk type Americans would understand when it comes to jobs numbers and the economy. But make no mistake about it, folks, they are succeeding. The left is succeeding. They're getting exactly what they want. Your misery. Were you going to say something, Dog?
Social assistant jobs. You were wondering what those are, and
Yes.
Thanks to my good friend Internet Search, we won't mention which one I used. They are assistants that provide client services, including support for families in a wide variety of fields such as psychology, rehab, and social work. They assist other workers, such as social workers, and they help clients find benefits for community services.
Okay, so that can be good and bad. I mean, obviously, people are going to need some counseling during this era. A lot of people suffering with depression, anxiety, so on, etc. But and then you get the social workers who are. I'm not going to. If you don't have anything good to say, don't say it, Carl. So anyway, I'll just leave. I'll leave that there and let you.
If you did that, we wouldn't have a show.
Yeah, that is true. All right. I think a lot of them are worthless. All right. I think a lot of them are, I think it's a bunch of people that like being in control. I think that that a lot of social workers believe in this big government stuff where they actually enjoy and envision daddy Uncle Sam, I guess, daycare for all people from children to adults. And that absolutely concerns me because look at we have so many people. The left has succeeded in so many ways. We think this is just hitting us now. It isn't. It was hitting us all along, or the left was planning this all along. COVID just gave them the opportunity to bum rush the rest of us freedom-loving Americans, and now we're stuck, and we have to fight. It's going to take a lot of your children are out of school. If you can't afford a private school, or if you don't feel like you're capable of teaching them at home, you're going to have to do your best when those kids leave school. I don't even care if they're going to a Christian school. I don't even trust a lot of Christian school nowadays because I've been seeing social justice nonsense on a lot of Christian websites that's absolutely boggled my mind. You're going to have to teach your kids about world history. You're going to have to teach your kids about money. That's going to be really important. If kids learn how to handle money, one thing that if kids learn how to handle money, you give them a piggy bank or whatever, a bank account, whatever it may be. You teach a kid how to save, give, or tithe. In our case, since we're a Christian home, so save, tithe, and spend. Right? Enjoy some of the money, save some of the money, tithe the money. When you start teaching kids the principles of money management, it's going to become a lot less likely that they buy into a lot of the left-wing nonsense. This is extremely important. But when kids think that money is free, it just shows up in their bank account, it just shows up in their mailbox, and they don't have to do jack crap for it, you have a dangerous society. You have a dangerous society. We are well down the road to socialism. And listen, I want to come here every day, and I say this often now more than I like, and just be jovial and this and that, and sometimes I will be, right? I mean, the good news is we know when we know how we have to fight. We know we have to continue to fight to push back. But make no mistake about it. As I wrap this up, make no mistake about it. Conservatives are looking at the jobs numbers in the wrong way. This is bad news for people that love America. It is great news for people that think America is systemically racist and we need to be cut down to size. This is great news for Democratic leadership because this is exactly, they couldn't have planned this any better. This is exactly what they want, a dependent and crushed middle-class America, not just crushed financially, but our psyche's crushed. Our American dream, the thought of the American dream just evaporating right before our eyes. It's amazing. Joe Biden, Janet Yellen, to bring it back, to circle back, they are seeing continued progress. They just don't mean jobs numbers. They mean more progress and more Americans being dependent upon welfare. All right, before I close this out, any questions, comments, or concerns that I can answer?
Going to YouTube, where we got to say good morning to Kale, because he says that he's listening to us from behind the blue curtain on the left coast.
Oh, man.
I love that, man.
Yeah, that is a good...
We are reaching nationwide.
Actually, I love that, Behind the Blue Curtain. That's a good title for a blog or article or something. Anyway, all right.
Kale, you better trademark that before before Carl gets to it. 'Cause that is pretty good there. And Barbara checking in this morning. She gave a couple of comments here. And she says, the one thing that all my friends and I knew as teenagers is that you don't go on the dole.
Man, yeah. Unfortunately, that's not what we're teaching now. Now we're teaching kids it is smart to go on the dole. Meanwhile, critical thinking is dying on college campuses elementary school campuses and middle school campuses and high school campuses everywhere. So I'm not even sure that many Americans are capable of thinking, young Americans are capable of thinking that way anymore. It's sad.
And good morning to Gilda, and that'll wrap up the comment section for this week.
What up, Gilda? All right, well, everyone, I appreciate you tuning in to this week's edition of Carl Jackson Show podcast. I guess now you can find it anywhere podcasts are located for the most part.
We are now up on TuneIn,
Okay,
Amazon. You
Okay.
should be able to find us on your smart speaker.
okay.
I haven't tried this yet, but if you have an Amazon or an Echo or
Cool.
any of those home smart speakers, try asking it to play the Carl Jackson Show, and hopefully, we're crossing our fingers,
Yes.
that it will know what you're talking about. And soon, very soon, our iTunes mystery will be solved, and hopefully we'll be up on iTunes. But you can still find us, Spotify, Stitcher, Anchor, those places you can find the podcast.
All right, so almost everywhere podcasts are found, and we are looking to expand even further. Be sure to please tell people about this show. Share it, like it, spread it on Facebook or wherever you are on social media. I want to thank my sponsors that help me out. That's Firm Foundation Home Inspections and Elisa Edwards of Watson Realty. If you're looking for a home inspection, you can call Aubrey Kahn at 321-624-0254. These people are brave, so help them out. If you need a real estate agent, home is the largest investment you have or asset you have. Don't risk going with some cheesy real estate person that really doesn't know what they're doing. It's just, you can suffer too much damage financially. So give Elisa Edwards of Watson Realty a call, 321-356-3616. Even if you don't need them, you run into someone that does. It helps us out when you help them out. So God bless you all. I appreciate you tuning in. And until next week, don't grow weary doing good, and God bless you.